Hello, welcome to the third section of the retreat. If you're doing all the classes on the retreat, this is going to be the third class on the first day. So before we begin this, I think it's important to mention the purpose of retreat. If you're a layperson who's not going to be doing a lot of extended retreats, is to push the envelope in terms of your capability. Generally, in your everyday life, you want to maintain, instead of 100% effort, about 70 to 80%. If you push to 100 all the time, and even sort of overextend yourself, then you'll go through a process where you really push and you expend all this energy, and then you collapse and you have to take several days off or a week off or longer, depending on how hard you pushed. So if you instead aim at having 70 to 80% all the time, then slowly your capability grows. So if your capability grows, now what is 100%? If your capability grew, if this is 100% and your capability grew from here to here because you were doing 70 to 80% every day, well, now 70 to 80% is here. And then as time goes on, 100% becomes here, 70 to 80% needs to move up to meet what you can actually do. So as this goes on, I like to think about it almost like a tide coming in, right? And I'm not sure what the boats are in all of this, but the tide is really the momentum of your capability, the momentum of your training. And as this tide comes up, then what you can accomplish becomes greater, right? The floor is higher. So what we're doing in retreat is, by and large, trying to see where this floor is. And also, let's say you took a little step and you gained a little bit more capability than you used to have. Well, retreat can be an opportunity to stabilize something that is new, right? On the surface of the ocean, there are waves coming constantly. And on the surface of your practice, there are these up and down kinds of experiences. You have good sessions, you have bad sessions, you have good weeks, bad weeks. Sometimes you have more and less capability, right? So this is the surface of your practice. But as the tide is coming in, the surface of your practice becomes a higher bar overall. Yes? So when you train, you can't be focusing on these good days, bad days, good days, bad days kinds of effects. You need to be looking at the bigger picture. But if you get a particularly high wave coming in, retreat can be a way to bring the tide up so that this is now has a smaller wave of variability. So to take it out of the realm of analogy, if you have recently had the experience that your mind is way crazier than you thought, that is the introduction to what your mind is actually like right now. It's chaotic. So that's the first indication that you've actually begun the process of training the mind, is that you have had a direct experience of how whacked your mind is. If you want to take something like that and make it stable so that as time goes on, that's sort of the starting place all the time. You are consistently aware or consistently more aware that your mind has a lot of activity in it. Then doing some intensive work in retreat where you recognize that again, can then give you enough stability in that capability that in your ordinary life, it's just there. That's where the tide of your awareness is. That's where the tide of your practice is. And on the surface of that, it goes up and down. You get some variability, but that's a stable capability now. As time goes on, the tide will continue to rise if you work within your capability and you don't quit. If you stay consistent, the tide will rise. I know people who started with 5 minutes a day 20 years ago, or almost 20 years ago. And today they can, with some effort, they can sit 3 or 4 hours a day if they choose. On a normal day, they can pretty easily sit for a couple of hours. And they also do a great deal of study, several hours a day usually. And they have a physical discipline that adds to the training that they're doing. And they're relying on good teachers, right? So there's humility there. So this person's doing okay. So slowly over the course of time, if you try to remain consistent, if you try to slowly rise the tide, if you work at 70 or 80% and then do retreat occasionally to stabilize something, or just push the edge of the envelope and see where 100% effort actually lives so that you can adjust, right? And bring your effort up. Now, ultimately, the point isn't to be able to sit for a long time, although you will need that capability if you want to make permanent change to your mind. And the purpose isn't to be able to study for hours and hours and days and all of this, but you may need to do that as well. You probably will. I certainly did and do. But without carving your character, it's not going to be possible to get out of the mess that we're in. You have to be strong. And strength has several flavors. Strength includes things like ethical strength. You need to be able to resist the urges that you have to do non-virtue, to do things that harm yourself and harm others. And on the opposite side of that, you need to cultivate the positive qualities, yes, the virtues. So you need to have the strength that even sometimes when it hurts a little bit, to do the right things, to do the things that are helpful for yourself and other beings. So, in brief, that's what you're going to need to do if you want to make real progress in training. You need to slowly start transforming your character, mainly through ethics if you're at the beginning. But ethics really, I mean, it doesn't go away, Ethics is something you'll be working on probably for the rest of your life. So, finally, I would say quite a few things act as the basis for something like training in concentration. Generosity, patience, perseverance. So you need, if you want the concentration, you have to develop the character, the type of personality, the type of will that is capable of gaining this capability. It's not just a matter of brute force that you sit down and you can just do it through ordinary will. You need a certain type of character. So with ethics, ethics just reduces the noise at the coarsest level of your mind, because you're stopping yourself from doing harmful things with your body and your mouth, right? Your speech. And you're stopping some of the coarsest or most obvious forms of negative mental behavior. Generosity is important because the primary problem that we have is excitement in terms of training and meditation, especially right now, right in the early stages. Excitement, where the mind wants to jump to some other object, is a derivative, a secondary mental affliction, they call it in Buddhist psychology, related to attachment, which is exaggerating the positive qualities of some thing or phenomenon. So if we cultivate generosity, which gives away nice things, including things that we are exaggerating the positive qualities of, then we're cultivating a mind which is less prone to this type of exaggeration. Although there are other exercises you can do if this type of exaggeration is your primary issue. I think patience should be obvious, but patience in this instance is the ability to withstand difficulty. So you have to slowly build up your tolerance for pain, for sacrifice, for difficult things that you don't enjoy. Because a great deal of training is difficult and painful. And in just like taking medicine, a great deal of medicine is difficult and painful and has side effects that you don't like. But if you want to cure the illness, you need to take the medicine. And exactly the same way, a very small example, we know from modern meditation research that if you gain some, not even great concentration, but some meditative concentration, that your perception of pain will be dramatically reduced. Pain will be less in your body. And the pain that is there will be less disturbing. We can see this right on the neurological scans of proficient meditators, right? Not great meditators, proficient, right? They have some competency. So when you're sitting, for example, and following your breath, and your legs hurt a little bit, or they're falling asleep, or your back is, your mind has to think, put the attention back on the medicine, right? Wiggling around, and to try to make pain go away, I've been doing for decades, and the pain is still here. What I haven't done is take the medicine, right? So in that way, you can start to understand, for example, if you want to overcome bodily pain, how training and concentration is a real antidote for that. Even if it doesn't make all the pain go away, your perception of pain will slowly change so that pain is less painful. It's less disturbing. It's just there, and you're kind of looking at it. So then there's perseverance. It's also translated joyful effort, which I used to not like at all, and now I really do like. But this is the ability to persist at an activity for a long time that won't produce results quickly, right? So again, you need some endurance in the face of difficulty and all of this, as related to patience, but also the ability to endure for a long time. And also this sense of lightness, right? This is joyful effort, not hard work, right? So your mind should have a sense of humor and lightness and sort of forgiveness of your lack of capability at various times and all of this. So that this feeling of sort of play and enjoyment can suffuse the activity. I guarantee you, if you see retreat as a type of play, you will be able to do so much more in your retreat. Because we can play for 16, 18 hours. We can play until 6 in the morning, right? We can start at 6 and end at 6 pretty easily if we're playing. But if we're working, oh man, now I might not even be able to manage 4 hours. Yeah. So it's important to start investigating the ways in which you can adjust your perception of your activities that are difficult and infuse them with more joy, lightness, humor, and so forth, so that the activity becomes easier. The way that you're mentally framing it is easier, right? And so this will help you grow capability. And then through these qualities of your character, yeah, now you have the setup that you need to actually start training in concentration. So you'll need a few more things, which are all listed in the notes for the course, but those are the primary pieces. Those are the primary components. In particular, something like patience and perseverance can be developed, I think, quite effectively, maybe even most effectively through a physical discipline. So this is where something like martial arts or dance or yoga or powerlifting, whatever it is you're into, can serve as a way to start building in the ability to face physical pain, to face uncomfortableness in the body, and so on, which is one of the primary obstacles stopping you from making progress. Also, it gives you a very sort of hands-on look at what is required to become good at something. If you start a martial art today, it'll be years and years, if it's a good art, before you have any kind of serious ranking in that art, if ever. And if you want real competency, then you'll see what it requires. That it requires pushing your boundaries, consistency, you name it. Again, in the course notes, one of my mentors gave me really, really excellent advice in this regard. And one thing that's often not covered, I think, at a great enough depth in a lot of traditional Buddhist environments in the West, at least, and certainly outside of monasteries for lay people, is how to train in training, right? What does it mean to train in something? What is it what skills do you need in order to be successful in anything? This is again in the course notes, but a couple of things that you need, for example, are the ability to push through pain, the ability to set a very, very long-term goal, maybe even a goal that has no end point, right? You're just going to keep working at it until you die. That's how it is with martial arts. That's how it is if you're training in dance seriously. I saw an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger a few days ago, and he said something like, "Oh, people ask me, why do you still work out? You're very old." And I ask them, "Do you still eat breakfast?" He said, I'm 70. I used to eat breakfast when I was in my 20s. I still eat breakfast." So just like that, right? There's probably no real end point, at least in this life. Buddhahood may occur in this life, but if it doesn't occur, then there's a timeline here. There's quite a bit. You'll make some progress in this life for sure, but how much progress depends on a lot of factors, and so you can't for sure say it's going to be like this or like that. Okay. So that's the pep talk. Today, I think we'll cover Tonglen, giving and taking practice. Some people were asking about antidotes to anger. And I think among the best antidotes for anger are equanimity, loving kindness, compassion, and rejoicing, or sympathetic joy, they call it sometimes. In other words, feeling happy for other people when they do well and when they get what they need and what they want. So right here in the other practices for this retreat are the practice of giving and taking, Tonglen. Yeah. So first let's talk about the four immeasurable minds. Equanimity comes in a few flavors. The two that are relevant to this exercise and this training are equalizing oneself with others and equalizing friend, enemy, and stranger. So before you can have a genuine feeling that you want a stranger to have the same happiness as you, where from the depths of your heart you want that for them as badly as you want it for yourself, then you need to make some adjustments to your psychology, right? Right now, that would be very, very difficult. Much less to do that with someone that hurt you, or someone who is hurting you, or someone that you fear may hurt you greatly in the future. That you want their happiness just as badly, just as desperately as you are seeking your own happiness. To accomplish that, first you need some psychological basis on your side where you see you're not up here and they're not down there. They're equal in terms, at least, of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So the immeasurable equanimity prayer, one of them, there are quite a few, is listed here. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could remain impartial, completely unbiased, with neither attraction nor angered repulsion. So the exaggeration of positive qualities is going to be towards those that we feel close to, friends, family members, and so on, where we are overemphasizing based upon thinking that I am going to get something great out of this for me. We're overemphasizing the sort of way that we're spreading around our desire for others to be happy because we have this selfish interest in the family and the friend and those who have helped us. And on the other hand, we have repulsion or anger, which is pratika, right? This is the exaggerated version of perceiving this being as basically being not good for anything because of some usually very small thing that they did to me. So without those two, not close to some, not distant from others, may they always remain in this way. May I cause them to remain in this way. Bestow on me, please, your inspiring strength, O divine holy gurus, to bring this about in this way. What's the key here? The key when you look at these three categories, friend, the one who helps, right? The one to whom I feel close and intimate. The stranger has nothing to do with me. They haven't helped me. They haven't hurt me. So I don't really care, right? So we have the friend who's an object of attachment. over-exaggerating their positive qualities. My friends, they don't have any problems. My family, they're the best in the world. My so-and-so who helped me 2 years ago couldn't possibly have done anything wrong because they're my mentor. Right? They're my business mentor. I've never seen them do anything like that. How could they do anything wrong? Yeah. So the mind exaggerates the positive qualities and covers up the negative qualities out of attachment, out of raga, for the friend. For the stranger, who cares? They didn't help me in the past. They didn't hurt me in the past. I walk by them on the street. That has nothing to do with me. I don't care what happens to them. Could be good, could be bad. Doesn't matter, right? So the stranger who hasn't helped or harmed is an object of indifference. And the enemy, oh, that person that looked at me wrong, 2 years ago, they also said my mother wears army boots, that person has no good qualities whatsoever. Nothing good about him whatsoever. Oh, my ex-girlfriend, my ex-boyfriend. Oh man, even when I smell the perfume they used to wear, I'm just, it's horrific. If I hear the music that we used to listen to, just get me away from it now. Couldn't be anything good about that music. So, praktika is this exaggeration of the negative aspects of this other party, and it ignores or covers up the positive aspects of this other party. So, if you want to equalize these three categories, then you need to get rid of the attachment to the ones who help and that you feel close to, the indifference for the neutral party, and the repulsion for the ones who've harmed us. How do you do this? There are several techniques. I mean, many, many, many techniques. But the main technique is to consider that each one of these categories is completely equal in almost every way, including very fundamental ways. The friend wants happiness and wants to avoid suffering. They have two eyes, they have two ears, they have a nose, a tongue, they have a body, they have a human mind. The stranger wants happiness, doesn't want suffering. They have two eyes, two ears, nose, tongue, body, a human mind. The enemy wants happiness, doesn't want suffering. They have two eyes, two ears, nose, tongue, body, human mind. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. So, considering that they're exactly alike in this way, try to start removing from the close ones, right? From the very close ones, try to start removing the inappropriate way that we cover up uh, qualities we don't like and exaggerate the qualities we do like, and equalize them with the stranger who shouldn't be an object of indifference because they're exactly the same as this other one. And the enemy exactly the same. Another thing you can consider is from the perspective of having many lives in the past. This is not my first birth. I've been reborn many, many times in the past. According to Buddhist thought, I've been reborn countless times, limitless times, beginningless times. due to being reborn all of these times, I've had countless mothers, countless fathers, countless brothers, sisters, teachers. So the one that I feel close to, the friend category, everyone in that category has been my mother, my father, my best friend, my sister, my brother, someone who helped me out when I was in a difficult place. What about the stranger? Everyone in the stranger category has been my mother, my father, my very best friend, my brother, my sister, someone who helped me out when I was in a very tough place. What about the enemy, though? The enemy has been my mother, my father, my best friend, my sister, my brother, as someone who helped me out in a very difficult place. So, completely equal. Not only equal, but kind. They've all been kind. Without the work of all beings working together, all sorts of things we need wouldn't happen. We couldn't have the clothing that we have, the food that we have, the water that we have, the buildings that we live in and work in. All of these are due to other beings. Not just human beings, all types of beings. Not only that, but in the past, in past lives, we've been carried in their womb for months. They've taught us to tie our shoes. They fed us when we couldn't feed ourselves. They protected us when we couldn't protect ourselves. When we were in the most horrible situation with deformity or disease or whatever as a small child, our parents gave up everything for us to make sure that we would be as comfortable as we could. So no matter how difficult, no matter how tedious, no matter how long it went on, they were kind. So kind. So the friend was extremely kind. The stranger was extremely kind. The enemy was also extremely kind. The one who hurt us for years and years and years was unbelievably kind in the past. So contemplating kindness will eventually, organically by itself, give rise to the feeling that you need to do something to repay this kindness. And from that feeling that I have to do something to repay this kindness, then the immeasurable loving kindness arises. Because the very best way to repay that kindness to them would be if you made them happy, if you actually gave them what is required to be happy. And if your enemy was happy, you'd have no more enemies because they'd be completely fulfilled. If the stranger were happy, then the world would run so smoothly, all the things that you need would be taken care of. If your friends and family were happy, all the conflicts disappear. Yeah, all the difficulty there is gone. So it's extremely beneficial for you if they're all happy. But more importantly, they have been so kind to you in the past. And if somebody 40 years ago gave you a heart transplant, does that kindness just go away 40 years later? No, you still have that beating heart in your chest. Yeah. In exactly the same way, kindness does not dissipate with time. So this kindness, how brutish would we be if we didn't repay this kindness? We need to repay this kindness. So from that need to repay comes, the very best thing to do would be to make them happy. But if I can't do that, at least let me try to take care of their temporary needs. So I hope they're successful. I hope they have prosperity. I hope they have no material want or difficulty, disease, no war, no conflict. This is where these suttas come from, like you find in the Pali Canon. May there be no war, may there be no conflict. The prayer that we said yesterday from Shantideva is the same. Now that you care so much about these beings being happy, when you look at their situation, they're not happy, right? They're very unhappy. They're going through pain, difficulty, suffering. If this doesn't tear you from the bottom of your guts, almost tear you out of your chair to go do something, then it's not compassion. The next one is compassion. Compassion is you want them to be released from difficulty, pain, suffering, the temporary kinds, and you want them to be relieved from that, and you want them to have permanent release from that. That would be the very best way to repay all this kindness to all these people you care about so much. What could be better than that? What could be better than that? And then as just a sort of a bit of something that comes on the side of all this is that from loving kindness, from compassion, naturally there should come a feeling of joy when you see others getting good things, when you see them getting wealth, when you see them getting good health, when you see them getting good romantic partners, when you see them being committed to friendship and doing good things for their friends, when you see them performing charity, when you see them meeting good teachers in the Dharma, when you see them making progress in the Dharma, when you see them striving, all of these ripenings of positive karma. So no matter what good thing befalls any person, if they have good looks, if their life is very easy because they inherited a great deal of money, right? If they have a big house and a big boat, if you name it. Of course, these are the temporary types of happiness, but they were so kind to me in the past. If I had those to give, I would give them. So of course I'm happy when I see them getting those things, right? So this is sympathetic joy. The more profound sympathetic joy is that, you look at the virtue that people are accumulating because they had the good karma to pursue virtue, right? To pursue the way out of suffering, to pursue getting a better rebirth, at a minimum, getting a rebirth like the one we have now, so they can keep training. Oh, so incredible if they're working on that. If they're training in some other religious system that gives them ethics and humility and good character, so incredible. They're creating the foundation to encounter this information so they can get out next time or soon in a few lifetimes. So incredible. If you see them striving in meditation and wisdom, and they're striving to gain liberation, a permanent state of mental transformation that is fulfillment, that is happiness. So incredible. So when you look at the Theravadan tradition, unbelievable. Unbelievable what they're doing. And when you see bodhisattvas who are striving for the sake of all beings to not fall into nirvana and become inaccessible to others, but to continue through nirvana to gain a state of fulfillment, and then continue developing their capabilities to full awakening, to the highest level of capability to help others so that they can help you and me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And so, like this, you can rejoice. You can feel joy for all the good that's occurring in the 10 directions. All the good in every place that's above me, below me, to the left, to the right, front, back, and the ordinal directions. All the good that's occurring, that has occurred in the past. Unbelievable, building monasteries, building temples, people passing away and leaving holy relics, and people gaining realizations from these, and following good teachers for long periods of time, going into extended retreat. All of this. Unbelievable. And all the good that's happening now. Incredible. All the good that's going to happen in the future. Limitless. Unbelievable. So like this, you can rejoice sympathetically. And this can help sort of intensify, keep the fire burning with regards to loving kindness and compassion. But it also creates a lot of merit for your own practice. A lot of momentum for your own training. It's good. Every time you rejoice, you also get, according to the text, at least half of the merit, the good karma of having done it yourself. And karma multiplies. So there are billionaires on this planet who've decided to give everything they own to charity when they die or before they die. Billions of dollars. Unbelievable. And simply going, wow, that's great. You get half the karma at least of having given away $1 billion. And it multiplies every day. In 30 days, it's unimaginable the amount of resource that has been created karmically. Unimaginable. So this is a very skillful practice. Okay, let's do the 5-minute session. May the precious body and mind not yet born arise and grow. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious supreme view of emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. I'll see you tomorrow.